you get a lot of growth in a specific direction in a municipality, oftentimes the older part of the communities get left behind. But now we're seeing these anchors come back in with this All Abilities Park. And what it's going to do is rejuvenate that area that, some of these older homes that need to be scooped up and people are moving in and turn them from rentals into primary residences. You start to see that. And we've been seeing that push back into some of these other neighborhoods where people are going in and buying and saying, this is going to be my home. And we're going to make this little neighborhood.
Also, if you think about it for again. Generational, it's so important for grandparents to be with grandkids and play, but parks aren't always accessible. And most of the times they're not. So I think this is going to be an awesome resource for grandparents taking their kids. And I think this is going to have so many positive impacts on the community that we can't even see.
Yep. I think it's perfectly located. I really do. And it turned out really well. And certainly have to take my hats off to the school district, Farmington Municipal Schools, for being willing to transfer ownership of that to the city for this project specifically. So they didn't have to do that. But we're glad we're able to keep it within the tax base that it's already been a part of and paid for all these number of years. I know when they moved Tibbetts out west, I was not happy with that because of what it did to those neighborhoods. And so it's good that we found a component that's going to help bring that back. But yeah, it's this thing about it from rehab facilities, the ability to take individuals there and utilize those services for rehab and sensory individuals with sensory sensitivities. This is really going to be geared towards.
Yeah, there were some great looking, like spaceship looking things and the platforms that go up. And I was like, I want to get out there and start rocking and rolling.
I've never seen, honestly, the things that are going in there I've never seen before in a park. So that's where I'm really excited about it.
Very cool. Very cool. And to your point, Aspen, there's a lot of people in this community that are going to benefit from that. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So speaking of things in the future that we can all benefit from, talk to us a little bit about the airport.
Man.
Oh, man.
This has been such a labor of love. You want some wins within the things that you're doing. And I believe we have a lot of wins going on.
Yeah.
But, in 2018, when I came in as mayor, we were trying to save the power plant, right? We're trying to save the jobs. We're trying to save that economic base. And we worked really hard at that for a number of years before finally we realized we couldn't do it. The same thing happens with bringing air service back to Farmington. And to go in 2019 to sit in front of the members of SkyWest, their leadership team, present to them, this is what's going on in Farmington, and it's all about the things that we've been talking about, why they need to come back here, or them not coming back, but them, opening up, commercial air service here. And then 2020 happening, and, the MOU with them that we had signed for them to start that spring essentially gets, null and void because there's a pilot shortage. The airline industry is in complete dismay with all the COVID rules and everything that was going on at the time. And so you're like, oh, we were just like this close. And jet service has really been the goal. We've had the prop planes, Great Lakes, unfortunately, when they went bankrupt, but they had already kind of blown it, I think, in this market because people weren't trusting whether or not they'd actually be able to fly out of here. But our runway no longer met the FAA requirements for length for jet service. So $25 million federal dollars has gone into extending that runway and updating the facilities in order to do exactly what we're going to do right now with SkyWest operating for United Airlines starting May 8th is the first flight in from Denver. May 9th will be the first flight out to Denver. I'll be on that plane. And then our hope and belief, of course, is that this resource is not just a Farmington-centric resource. This is a Four Corners resource for additional air traffic opportunities. And so I believe that 50-seat jet will be filled on a regular basis, which helps us in our agreement with them because the way airlines work nowadays, especially to come into small regional hubs like ours, they have to be subsidized. And the federal government has an EAS program for essential air service that at the time they brought that out, which I think was in the 80s, we had air service. So we weren't able to get that benefit of federal dollars coming in to pay for your airlines. So all the airlines we've had here have all made money on their own. And even Great Lakes, as I understood, was making money off of the routes they were flying out of here. But we have to subsidize SkyWest to come in. And during the period of time that we were fighting to keep the power plant open, I remember having conversations with members of the Commerce Committee of our state elected body. And they said, what else can we do? And I brought up the need for air service. And I said, we need to bring, if you look at the transportation hub here in the Four Corners, there's no rail, We had no air service. I mean, Colorado has it in La Plata. Bus lines no longer run through Farmington because we're not on a major interstate, which is how one of the first trips I made to Farmington was on a Greyhound bus.
Oh, that's wild.
Not there anymore. They asked, and we said, what about a fund to help subsidize? Because these airlines are asking for millions of dollars. Give you an idea. Sholo has a flight that goes from Sholo, Arizona to Phoenix. That's 180 miles. $7 million a year is what they're subsidizing for that air service.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Our agreement with SkyWest is for $6.9 million, but we're only paying them for any seats that are not being filled. So we're hoping that we don't even get close to having to pay that money, but that's coming out of a state RASE grant fund. And I believe what I just heard the other day is SkyWest is looking for a 30-seat charter flight. This is a 50-seat flight that they're going to be using, but on a 30-seat, that gives us the capabilities then of potentially getting from Farmington to Houston, and adding additional markets. But we have to use this one flight a day in and out, 5:55 a.m. flight to Denver, and 8:30 flight back home that night.
So it's just going to start off with this skeletal plan and then build from there.
That's our goal. And
Call to action.
SkyWest is the same way.
Call to action. Book some flights. Yeah. If you're here local, book some flights. We got to get some good momentum going.
So we're going to DC this summer. We've already booked our flights there. My daughter's in Alabama. She's already booked her flights, back home to there. I'm going to go up to Denver on May 9th and hang out for the weekend. I mean, it's competitive. Obviously, we have nothing to do with the pricing. All of this is now in the airline's hands. But I believe, and I think we all know this, I mean, when there's multiple entities providing a service in an area, typically, the prices are lower. And so I think everybody is going to benefit from that. You don't have to pay for parking at our airport, so you're saving money in that regard also. And then, of course, for us here locally, we have the opportunity to be in the middle of town.
Yeah.
And not have to drive late at night to come home or super early in the morning to get to Durango.
Capitalism at work drives prices down.
True. And I want you to understand too, within the consultant group that we hired to kind of help tell our story and bring the numbers to fruition, and what they've recognized is this is not necessarily us going after Durango at all. It's us going after Albuquerque. And Denver is the number one hub because it can take you to the most locations once you get to Denver. A lot of folks are like, well, let's go to Phoenix. Well, there's not really anywhere else to go once you get to Phoenix except to the West Coast. Let's go to Dallas. Well, that's an opportunity too. So I think all these things happen one step at a time. Let's max out our use of the flights that are there, and I think SkyWest and other carriers are going to be looking for opportunities to expand.